Dead cells on the 4th boss stem cell. This is now Nightmare mode. In Nightmare mode, there are no forms of refilling health flask, more cursed mobs for more biomes, more scroll fragments. We're actually getting 3 times the cells that we would get normally. There's going to be quite a few new things in 4BC for us to manage. I'll be, of course, shouting them out as we go on. I think I'm going to try this survival over here. If I remember correctly, survival in 4BC is actually pretty decent. We're actually going to be going into here to start off, though, because 4BC, we have a very specific goal in mind, and it requires us to go to the other side of this. It's locked. To open it, we'll just use our head, open both doors fairly easily, jump across, and we have this cavern key. We're going to need that in order to access the 5th boss cell. Of course, this game, as I've said before, is progression-based with difficulty progression. Our goal is true ending, and that requires the 5th boss cell. First monsters, we have our rats, we have our inquisitors. We do remember these from earlier. I am using a very low-level broadsword, not anything that is going to help us out, but the base damage on broadsword is still pretty nice. One good combo is enough to kill most things. Now that we're in 4BC, the weapons start off as level 4, so we have access to victim slow nearby targets. We get our scroll here. One of the great benefits of survival weapons is that victim slow nearby targets tag. That one is randomized, so it's not going to always show up. But when it does, that is almost like a great version of that survival weapon that you should probably consider picking up. So we haven't seen the new mechanics yet. To give you an idea of what that looks like, I'm going to aggro this Oven Knight, and then I'm going to come up here. And now there's a new mechanic that starts in 4BC where the monsters begin to teleport to your location. Now, it's not everything, but it is most stuff. If you were ever just ignoring monsters and like running away, trying to find the next, I don't know, the next scroll or the next shop, they will actually chase you now. Pretty much the same thing that elites have been doing this whole time. When you aggro an elite, it does chase you. But we never had to deal with that with a basic monster. That is a Frost Blast. When playing survival, very easy to get good kills out of it. Sometimes I don't like to run it very often because it feels like it sort of like makes my gameplay worse, if that makes any sense. New monster right here. One thing that you may or may not have realized is that this prison quarters has had 0 green zombies. I can tell you at this stage of the game, the green zombie is effectively gone. They've all been replaced by what you just saw there, which is called the failed experiment. So this has sort of the same techniques as a basic zombie. It tries to jump at you. You can dodge roll or you can jump over it. But it now has a 3-hit combo with a slam at the end. Comes out fairly quickly. And now it has the same gameplay as the Dancer, where it has 1 dodge built in. So all of that together makes for a monster that's like extremely dynamic compared to just a regular green zombie. I'll just fight this straight up. You could do the door tech, but I feel pretty competent right now. Multiple Nox bow, don't need that. For some reason, I am getting hit randomly a lot, which is not good. Let's take out this thing, which is confusing my gameplay a bit. But see how, like, I can try to run away, but as I do that, I'm starting to aggro more and more stuff. We got a blueprint, Berserker. It is survival. I will probably take it, to be honest. So we did see that there was a cursed biome. It was over at Toxic Sewers. It's actually marked on the map for Toxic Sewers. But we need to go through Promenade. Promenade is going to give us access to a new biome that we have not seen before. 2 monsters away. Very, very sad. But 100 cells in the first biome. That's incredible. A lot of different survival weapons I could unlock. Heavy crossbow is actually a fan favorite. I am a bit interested in Berserker. No real like melee weapons in there. This might be a little awkward, but we'll do it anyway. I think I'll put my cells towards the heavy crossbow. We won't have it just yet, but I think it will be good later on. So first mutation, we'll grab Berserker. Killing an enemy with a melee attack reduces the damage you take, stackable, up to 90%. Now, I should say that it says it's stackable, but each stack falls off independent of one another. So it's not like you're refreshing the cooldown of the damage reduction. So this is new. We'll be heading up here, using that same wall run tech that I told you all before. We got a blueprint that has been up there for the entirety of this. We have these now. The Gardener's Key. That was a flower that I could see on the floor. Stomped on it, got my key. Now that we have every rune in the game, we're gonna have access to a bunch of stuff we've been walking by. Like this, another Gardener's Key. In Promenade, we have the Runner. We have Failed Experiment. I do not have a shield. Don't know why I tried to parry just then. I would say on like a power rating kind of scale, the Failed Experiment is fairly high up there. I would still say that the Rampager is a more dangerous monster, but sometimes you end up in these setups with Failed Experiments that are like really, really nasty. Like this right here. We have to clear out those, and now we can fight normally. But the fact that this thing can dodge you, it may be a little bit more difficult. We'll get the reveal. Actually, keep the double jumps. There's no invisible monsters here. We do need to get rid of that amulet just straight up, because I need survival scrolls to maximize our damage. One thing that I haven't mentioned is that in 4 BC, there are actually more elites than before. So not only are we dealing with like cursed biomes and new monsters like the Failed Experiment, now there's all these elites that start to show up. It's so fun. Like, I do really enjoy the idea of this Zero to Hero walkthrough, because you start to forget how things are at the lower difficulties. That's not to say that lower difficulties are easy by any means, but more so, like, how many things does a new player have to deal with compared to me, where it's like, okay, I've been doing this for a while. I have probably 2,700 hours in the game, but especially on the Zero to Hero walkthrough, like, we don't have a lot of stuff. We're still going through the game with barely anything unlocked. We have the essentials, which are, you know, our health flask. We finally got double green. We lost a lot of max HP for that, which is unfortunate. Even though survival is like the highest HP class, losing red scrolls causes us to lose out on the initial like HP that you would be getting on your first scroll, which is a lot. It is in your best interest to full clear these maps. You're getting a lot of cells. If you were worried by the time you got to 4 BC that, dang, like, the game's going so fast, I don't know if I'll be able to unlock everything I want, best believe now is the time to start unlocking stuff. New blueprint. Oiled sword. I always thought it was just oil sword, but oiled sword is a brutality weapon. Probably not going to see it in this run since we're so invested in survival, but what it does is that if you hit an enemy that's on fire, you augment your oil sword to do critical hits. As you see, I have to jump a lot. Trying to utilize the Frost Blast as much as I can, but sometimes the monsters on this map are still too quick. So I have to cancel the Frost Blast sometimes. It's also not, like, hallway wide. The range is, like, fairly long, but the failed experiment in that setup would have not gotten frozen. There's also bombs I have to worry about. The broadsword has a major issue where the first slash is like a low horizontal. So enemies that are flying have a really easy way to get to you. You'll even see me jump and slash just to like ensure that I hit the bat. More survival. We are looking awfully glass cannon right now. We're 1, 1, and 8. I assume that won't stay around for that much longer, but it's not the best stat line if you're newish to the game. Symmetrical Lance, level 5. I will try it now that we have this backpack. That way we don't lose the broadsword. We get to utilize the Gardener's Key. We found a frontline shield, which I'm honestly gonna try it. We need one more key. Actually, that should be fairly close. That's lore. I don't think that statue has anything. There is a statue that has money. One of these, I think, has an amulet. Oh, maybe not. I am apparently safe during the cutscene. That is news to me. Now, one of the scary parts about running the Symmetrical Lance is we lost out one of the victim slow nearby targets that I was using earlier. It's like very nice to have. I just feel like the Symmetrical Lance's gameplay is a little bit easier to play than Broadsword. You still have the same issue, as you can clearly see, about being able to hit bats. If not, it being worse. But now we have some good reach. We have what feels to be a faster weapon. Survival. Head down into the pit. This we couldn't do before, but now we can, and it's access to... After we go through more, I actually expected it to be a very short hallway, but I was wrong. Explorer's Instinct popped. That gets to reveal the map. So we see there's a Gardener's Key there. There's a scroll fragment. And that appears to be it. The door is right next to us. This is a 1 BC door right here. See, this is where having the Frost Blast would have been a lot nicer. And I have to kill this Bombardier. Thing is doing way too much work. But see how I can't really run? The runner can now... I guess runners could always chase. Let's actually... If we're afraid of our HP value, we're gonna lose 1 survival scroll, but gain a bit more HP, like 200 more HP. Broadsword, level 7, 20% damage for free. There's also a Nutcracker. This might be the hit right here. And then maybe we go back to that Frost Blast. Nutcracker gets a critical hit when hitting an enemy. Did I sell the Frost Blast? Please tell me I didn't sell it. Alright, so it appears that I did not leave my Frost Blast in a safe spot. That is not good. However, we can still do just fine. The Wolf Trap is also a critical option for Nutcracker. Of course, Wolf Trap is on a cooldown, so we won't have it available for every monster. Let's go ahead and grab this blueprint here. Explosive Crossbow. Look at that. We still have gameplay. It's not the end of the world if you lose a specific weapon. Just, as I said before, try to utilize that backpack. That's pretty much your main answer to make sure that you're able to keep stuff that you want to keep. or experiment. Sometimes you can outplay the monster's teleport. You almost saw that I was able to get it to teleport into the trap itself. That is me utilizing the tech that the game has against itself. We're gonna head into here. This is Prison Depths, a biome that we could not access previously. We still have not gotten what we call V.60, one of these doors here. You can kind of tell that the gameplay has accelerated at this point, so it becomes very, very volatile. Now, we are sitting on some blueprints. We have heavy crossbow here. We have ice bow if we do want that source of freeze. Ice crossbow and explosive, these are actually two-handed weapons, which we have not seen yet. I'm going to put some points into the heavy crossbow. I don't want to unlock it just yet, but I think I do want to show it today. I will take the ice bow to utilize with our nutcracker, and then the rest of the points I'm actually going to put toward restock, because I'm starting to realize that I'm getting to the shops and I can't do anything at the shop, right? It's just full of brutality items. So that's going to allow us to re-roll the shop and see more stuff. I will do the upgrade here. Typically, I would not upgrade an ice bow because it doesn't get a lot of stuff. But there's one thing it could have gotten. Right now, Pierce All is very nice. One thing it could have gotten is enemies thaw more slowly. And that one is pretty worthwhile. Second mutation, we could just bring in an easy necromancy. We did have the option for what doesn't kill me. That requires us to do a parry to heal ourselves. Of course, I do have a shield in the backpack, but I would have to use the shield, do the parries, then put the shield away, which is not impossible. Like, that is gameplay you could be doing. However, I'm going to try to just use necromancy instead and see what the mileage is. Alright, so I've already been on autopilot, I'm sorry. The first thing in every Prison Depths, it always starts with a curse chest. This is actually like a 1.5 or maybe a 2.5 biome. It's about half the size of a normal biome. It only appears between the second biome and the third one. You can see that you can just skip right over it. And the only scroll that's on this map is that curse. So if you plan to do this map, plan to do that curse. The monsters are higher level. If you were to put a level onto each monster, these are not your average monsters. That teleported from maybe down below, which I'm a little surprised that knife throwers can teleport to you. Two things here. I know we have the ice bow, so I'm not like super afraid since we have the shots pierce. If I didn't have Pierce All, I'd be a little bit more cautious on each individual hallway. But with that, our curse is done. This map is full of monsters. We have slashers here. You saw the Rampager. You see this Lacerator guy. You saw bats. The Masker is here. Masker is from Slumbering Sanctuary. Compared to lower difficulties, like if you were to come here at a lower difficulty, I'm sure there'd be a few less of these kind of monsters. However, I don't really recommend coming here unless you plan to do the curse. That's really the only reason why you'd be here. Stun the victim Flint. I'm not opposed, to be honest, but honestly, this gameplay, it's working. Oh my god. That is not how I thought that would work. Try my best to not get hit by that elite laser. Of course, Ice Bow does have ammo to it. Frost Blast does not, so that's another, like, downvote for the Ice Bow. I do a lot of tier lists for this game. I have multiple up if you want to take a look at them. And historically, I have Ice Bow below Frost Blast. But if you see Pierce All Ice Bow, that is something that you should probably do. We got an Iron Cells Key. We'll be able to see what that does a little bit later. We do have that hammer monster on the map. It's like a giant walking piston or something from a V6 engine. We've seen it before. Can't recall which map we saw it on. Maybe it was Distillery? I don't want to remember Distillery. Those memories are already gone. There we go. Wow, a blueprint. Cluster grenade. That's also survival. I kind of like the way how he did the Zero to Hero. I feel like I've been able to showcase a lot of different kinds of builds. We've seen a couple legendaries. I haven't really used them the entire time. Maybe if a legendary shows up here, we'll give it a try. At least for a little while. I would say that survival runs aren't usually the fastest runs, like the world record holders. However, depending on how you play it, like the fact that I have to do the ice bow in between my combo, that kind of slows down my gameplay a little bit. But it's strong. Like, you do very good damage. That's it. That's actually the end of the biome. There was no monsters left. 37 monsters killed right now. But luckily, I don't think this map really counts. Because when we go to the next map, I don't know if there's a door for the 60 kills. Alright. So we do have to go here. Ancient Sewers is going to put us back at Conjunctivius. As you saw, the other option for Prison Depths was Ossuary, not Ramparts. So it happens to be these two. But this is where we have to go, because we do need to fight Conjunctivius. That is part of the progression to be able to utilize this Cavern key. So as you see, there is no door here for time or kills. So if you get damage taken in Prison Depths, don't worry about it. There's nothing you can get out of it. Cluster Grenade is here. It only costs 20. Oiled Sword, sorry, is 25. Mutations, we do have things like Heart of Ice, which is very nice. Let's go ahead and grab it, as a matter of fact. A lot of the survival mutations are very, very good, in my opinion. I don't think I really need to upgrade the Wolf Trap. This thing doesn't really do that much damage when I'm utilizing just the Nutcracker. If I had a lot of dot, like DOT, that's poison, bleed, that kind of stuff, I could see it being a bit better. We will grab that Heart of Ice, one of the best survival mutations in the game. The Bank, technically for progression, we only need to access Conjunctivius. I can actually go to this bank. This is fine. From a damage standpoint, I'd say we're ahead of the curve, actually. And we could technically only get even better as we go through here. The bank teller seems to be away. There's a small sign on the desk. I'm on paid leave. Please help us maintain our splendid facility using the key on the back of the sign. Feel free to borrow money. We're a safe and respectable bank. Sometimes the NPC is there, sometimes it's not. It doesn't really change the bank at all, but it's just like a fun little thing to mix it up. Definitely good on the devs for having that like little foresight. You're playing a roguelike, you're doing the same stuff over and over again. Anything they can do to make it like a little different each time, it's probably well worth it. The bank is pulling from all of these biomes: Ramparts, Ossuary, and Ancient Sewers. Thorny is from Ossuary. Failed Experiment, for all I know, is on every map. Make sure we don't get hit by the Reflect. There's our Curse, guaranteed to be here at Red Door. So this thing is mandatory. We got a new Wolf Trap. Good thing I didn't upgrade the one I had. Now, we haven't talked about Heart of Ice yet. Heart of Ice gives you cooldown reduction when hitting a monster that is CC, including slows. So it doesn't have to be ice, stun, or root. It could actually just be a slowed monster, which is very strong. Just still have to be very careful. Even though, like I said, we are strong, these monsters are also very strong. We have Toxic Miasma. This thing's actually is from Corrupted Prison. We went into Prison Depths, so imagine it's like the equivalent of that. Wow, that thing actually blocked my ice bullet. Still got frozen, but very surprised on that block. Now, this weapon is working. Like, if you were to look at this and say, V, when do you swap off the Nutcracker? I could easily say once the Nutcracker stops working. Once I get to the point where I'm not killing these monsters quickly enough, and they're actually fighting me back. You could also say, like, once you get to the boss, it depends on what boss you're gonna fight, but maybe that boss can't be stunned, or can't be frozen. Or maybe it can't be rooted. Or the root doesn't last for very long. All of those are situations where you would probably want to get rid of the Nutcracker. If I had unlocked the heavy crossbow by now, there's an argument to go with that. Just to see and feel a new weapon. Sometimes it's not a matter of like, oh, I'm swapping because I know this is stronger. Sometimes I swap because I have to consider, could this be better than what I was doing before? And technically, this makes it easier. This means I could probably opt out of Ice Bow at some point. Not a Mimic. Let's hold off real quick. Because the other shop is a 50-50 chance to be a skill shop or a weapon shop. So in that case, if the other shop happens to also have Ice Grenade in it, I may as well get the potential Mimic Ice Grenade. Wow, I'm surprised it didn't aggro that slasher. It is happy staying down there. Which is okay with me. How do you know you have the cooldown reduction? Watch my grenade. You'll see it shine every time I do a melee attack. That is that cooldown reduction activating. Right now it's giving us 1.3 seconds off of each individual attack. Imagine if you had a faster weapon than Nutcracker. I think we saw a colorless blood sword earlier. That thing is very fast. We'd be able to get a lot of cooldown reduction on each individual slash of the blood sword. To be fair, blood sword plus wolf trap, fantastic. See, ice grenade. Like, part of me thinks you should probably mimic check the powerful grenade instead. Because, like, for DPS purposes, the ice grenade doesn't really do damage. Wow, I can't really keep this thing CC'd. Even with the wolf trap, it's turning around, which is quite interesting. Level 11 powerful grenade. Very strong. I think if I was of the right mind, I probably should have put that colorless blood sword that we saw in the backpack. I think that was the reward from Prison Depths. And if I had that, we'd be able to make some sick plays. Powerful grenade already doing work. That is a tier 3 gold gorger. Now, you saw me do the jump. Like, I knew there was a gold gorger. I just didn't know if it was going to be tier 3 or not. But I had a suspicion that it would be once it aggroes me. I know for a fact there's a gold gorger because as I'm killing the monsters, I can see that the gold was getting sucked towards a different monster. Being sucked away from me. But like that, basically, like, the gold is not coming to me. The only thing that does that is a gold gorger. So that is my signal that, hey, be prepared for something to show up. Especially if the gold is being tractored away for, like, a long time. That means it's probably going to be a tier 3. And a tier 3 Gold Gorger always starts off trying to do the slam. Again, we've been playing the game. We're now in 4 BC. You may have seen the bank multiple times. You may have been to the bank more than I have. At some point, you have to dedicate to your memory that the first attack from a Gold Gorger is usually the slams if it's off screen. All right, so that's the end of blue. We know the end of green has that Celeste platforming section. We'll be able to do that. Possibly get a colorless item out of it. If it's something fairly fast, like a brutality weapon, I will actually consider swapping to it. I don't think that's like cooking the Zero to Hero as the legendary would. But that's gameplay that like maybe you, the viewer, would like to see. Like, oh, when do you ever take a colorless item? We have a skin. Robber's outfit. Now, there should still be a blueprint on this map. I'm surprised we didn't get one from the Mimic, actually. I think the Mimic may even have 2 blueprints. Here it is. For full HP, I do have an additional jump from my amulet, which is great. You can take your time going through this. You are in no rush. There's no timer happening right now. You may have even like left amulets earlier. You could go back, see if those amulets had double jump on them. It is definitely helpful in order to get through the platforming section here. You can see I do a lot of dodge roll when I land. Reason being, I don't want to get stunned on the floor. And that's it. Open our chest. Symmetrical lance. Unfortunately, it's not plus or even plus. It's level 9, which is fairly nice. We can backpack the Nutcracker. And just check. There's nothing wrong with checking. As long as I don't lose anything in the process. Technically, I did lose my shield. We got Explorer's Instinct. We can see the end of the biome does not have survival weapons. And to be 100% honest, you can see that there is nothing left but monsters and a shop. And we know that shop, it is a food shop. However, I also mentioned I did not get a blueprint off this map. So we could also imagine that, hey, I should full clear this map at least until a blueprint shows up. At least. And there it is. Barnacle. That may have come from the Thorny. We did get the Veedotme 60 before we got hit. So I don't feel as bad. Tier 2. Gonna suck up the gold again. Give me another tier 2. The Nutcracker, compared to the symmetrical lance, like I am indeed killing. However, I'm a little worried that maybe I don't get as much cooldown reduction as I was, because I'm not using the ice bow very often. But it's fun. Could definitely say that. It could be stronger if it was plus. The symmetrical lance does have victims slow nearby targets. Remember, I told you that even though CC is usually like hard CC, ice, stun, snare, hard CC, we can actually still get the benefit of Heart of Ice on a slowed enemy. So slow comes from victims slow nearby targets. If I kill one monster, other monsters in range on my screen, they get slowed. So if I just get to that other monster, I'm gonna take this for the HP. Notice we go from 3,300 to 4,100. So as a monster is dead, and I get to the next monster, which is really easy with like rats and stuff like that, I'm getting cooldown reduction. So definitely press those buttons if you got them. For the sake of time, we're gonna go. Head to our exit. I never take out a loan for no reason. I'm sure you may be thinking to yourself, V, like, why not get some extra cash and then leave the bank? That's gonna just give you a curse, and I do not want to do curses that I don't need to. All right, Balanced Blade, Impaler, powerful, level 9. It is actually stronger than the one we have. We're gonna swap. Level S, stronger than the plus. I know we could upgrade to plus plus. That will cost me money. I don't really want to check on right now. We got restock, so now we can get more chances at stuff in shops. This is the new Barnacle. It's a deployable. This is where you can actually see what counts as deployable or not. I'm gonna put points into this. It's one away. When I think I'm ready to swap to it, I will, but not just yet. I'll upgrade this. I don't know if we're gonna use it on Conjunctivius. What I'll do, and this is something that I like to do to check for damage, is I do it mid-combat, which is obviously not very safe, but I consider it fairly effective. The first attack from Conjunct is always the dash. So we can chill for a second, come up, drop the wolf trap. It did not get trapped. Incredible. All right, my bad. I'll wait. I'm in no rush. Another dash. I'm trying to get the trajectory right. Let's hang out right here. There we go. Back up. So this is doing like 4,000 max damage. We swap. I think swapping actually deleted the wolf trap. You know what? It's not that far off, to be honest. Right? I think I'd rather use the symmetrical. It is slower in some regards. But I think I like the attack better. I feel like it's a little bit easier for me to reach monsters this way. Alright, one more dash. I did lose my wolf trap, but we'll get it back. Thanks to cooldown reduction. Now I just need this thing to go into the trap. There we go. Now watch the wolf trap, it's flashing. The dash does still come out. Oh my god, I was in the hitbox. That's unfortunate. A little bit greedy on my part, I suppose. But now I don't really care if I take damage, because we lost the chance for the legendary regardless. Ice is a little weird in this map. The tentacles, even though they do get frozen, a lot of times they immediately go underground as soon as you hit them. So you don't get to land any more than the one hit. All right, this is good. Nice. All right, flashing. Couple more, and there it is. A dead Conjunctivius. Took us a little while because we were, taking our sweet time, making sure that it's gonna go into the wolf trap. If you had giga damage, you could actually kill it in the wolf traps, skipping a lot of those tentacle phases. A lot of survival here. Sell. Sell. This is our old Nutcracker. I feel as though I'm done with it. But now we have a new area. Graveyard. This is a brand new biome for us. Part of our progression. Timer's back. We have 20 cells. We still have not really been touching Legendary Forge, which is unfortunate. Of course, if you were, dying and whatnot, you may have gotten to the first boss. You may have lots of cells. Definitely put them towards the Forge. So we're grabbing heavy crossbow. This thing is a two-handed weapon, as you can see. I'm gonna put the symmetrical lance in the backpack, just so we know if we, don't like what we're doing, we can always swap back, level up. Heavy crossbow is basically a glorified shotgun. You can reload the ammo, and when you do a reload, your next attack is a crit. I am not like alternating on every single monster, but I am doing that reload fairly often. However, I know we need Shots Pierce. We got Pierce 1, bonus damage, but funny enough, this can actually roll victim slow nearby targets. So I'm going to try to get both Shots Pierce and victim slow. A little bit unlucky. We didn't hit. We do still have the Shots Pierce. I would say if you don't have that much money, just go with the first Shots Pierce that you saw. Of course, this is not a melee weapon. This is a ranged weapon. So I will be resetting. However, it is close range, right? Heart of Ice does actually work with this, for it being close range. Everything that requires melee, such as Berserker, does not work. Funny enough, it actually works with Acrobatic Pack. If I happen to see Ice Bow or Frost Blast again, we could utilize Acrobatic Pack. And then finally, we will continue with the Necromancy. Of course, there are things like Disengage and YOLO, but at this stage, we're kind of done taking YOLO. All right, so let's head on in. This is a brand new area, the graveyard. Local villagers came here to pay their respects and do some other stuff, I'm sure. Just like every other map, you always start on the left-hand side. Nothing. You can look at the backdrop. It's a very, very well-made map. We have a new monster, I believe. Swarmer, I think is the official name. You can see the power of a critical shotgun shot. However, the basic attack of it, not all that strong. It does have an additional gameplay piece to it, where it actually fires out a grapple hook. The grapple hook does not pierce. It is very dangerous. It used to. They actually nerfed it. But what it's supposed to do is that you pull in the first monster, and then you will crit and hopefully kill everything behind it, so long as you have that Shots Pierce. So I always start every engagement with the reload. This is a great time to be running Necromancy, because if you don't have any means to get your health back, you will probably lose a lot of your HP to random, like, rats and stuff like that. I shot the wrong way. That's my bad. Technically, you could say, B, you've taken more damage with this weapon. Maybe that's like a bad sign. However, I do want to showcase all this stuff. If this looks like a weapon that's not up your alley, I would encourage you to, give it a skip. We do have a free area over here. We got a key that we'll be using later. Back to the beginning. Graveyard is always set up this way. We're gonna have a top section that has a key, and we're gonna need that key to access the next section of Graveyard. Don't plan on skipping that key, almost ever. We got the Ice Bow for the backpack. Let's leave the Symmetrical Lance. And now we have the benefit of Acrobatic Pack, which is going to throw an item from our backpack. Acrobatic Pack does reduce your damage, only does 27% damage, but we don't care about that with Ice Bow. And in fact, it even works on the reload, as you can see. Now, unfortunately, I don't think it fires the arrow as soon as you do the heavy crossbow. I think it actually waits for the shotgun shot that comes out. So, like, it's technically a little bit worse on a normal shotgun shot of the heavy crossbow, but on the reload, it's actually really good, which is why we have it in the first place. So now I don't technically have to, like, do the reload outside of combat. I can kind of start combat with the reload if I really want to. It's all gonna depend on what I'm attacking. Like, what's the situation that's in front of me? If it requires me to reload at the start, I will. If it doesn't, like this right here, then I won't. Nice elite. You can see that I'm ducking under this monster a lot, this grappler. I haven't even talked about the monsters at all. That's how much I'm doing autopilot right now, just to make sure that I maintain the heavy crossbows gameplay. But that grapple monster, which we saw only one time earlier, which was during Daily Challenge, you can kind of see the gameplay it wants to do. It wants to hook you in, similar to what I'm doing with the heavy crossbow. When it hooks you in, it will do a swipe that does a lot of damage, kind of similar to what Timekeeper does. It also has its own attack, which I think is a kick. Requires Architect's Key. We do not have that just yet. So the only thing left to do is to go down. We're going to utilize this key, skipping the food because we have Necromancy. I'm also realizing that we are destroying the frozen ice with the, like, launch an arrow whenever we do reload. Reload shoots an arrow up and forward. So if I'm too close to the monster, it is actually not staying frozen. Which is whatever. I would like it to be frozen. It's probably not the best ice bow. Maybe that's where Frost Blast may have some better gameplay. But it's working. It's a little bit unorthodox, but it is a build that does work. We just have to utilize the grenade and the trap as much as we can. More cells. 4 BC, even those tubes have more cells in them than normal. Very good freeze. That's not a shot's pierce on the ice bow, is it? We did not get victims slow nearby targets on the heavy crossbow either. So I would probably say this is not the best version of heavy crossbow. TBH. It's like okay at best. At this point, trying to re-roll it, it's very expensive. I don't know if I particularly care that badly. I haven't really let most of these monsters showcase their gameplay, and I do apologize for that. The Swarm Zombie, as you can see, it is summoning flies, similar to how the Purulent Zombie throws out eggs that spawn leeches. However, the flies are more dangerous than you would think they are. Now we'll hopefully be able to show that off a little bit. Sell that. Even though we could get rid of the wolf trap, there's now a broadsword in here. Quick mimic check. We have to think about that now. There could be mimics. We found this, which is very cool looking. This is where we use the Cavern key. This is going to give us permanent access to the Cavern, which is the next step of our progression. Alright, there's Explorer's Instinct. Couple doors. Curse is in there. We have a couple of doors we can open. Just in case, like maybe if I run out of monsters, I can go back and open up one of the BC doors. Lots of elites. There's no telling how many elites I fought in this biome alone. I mean, I could probably go back and see. But yeah, we're now at the point where, like, I can't really let a lot of these monsters do their gameplay. That is a recipe for disaster. Dang, it's not even the best ice bow either. We don't have Pierce. We don't have Victims Thaw more slowly. We are grasping right now. Okay, so we got this. We did get our quote-unquote fast item, the Twin Dagger. I don't think I want to do that since we've seen Twin Dagger in Zero the Hero before. However, it, you know, as a Heart of Ice enabler, combined with Wolf Trap, it probably does very well. Let's head into here and see if we can find 10 monsters. Alright, nothing here. And this is our other BC door. See if there's anything behind it. There's a legendary, as well as a bunch of BS. Let's be very cautious here. The Grappler is probably the worst monster. Rats are no better, to be honest. A lot of bats. Nice. I can show this a little bit. I always try to duck under this thing's attack. That's just muscle memory at this point. You could try to roll behind it. We did see the cannibal back in Clock Tower. But one nice thing about Heavy Crossbow is Heavy Crossbow can actually stop the monster's attack. This is a Valmont's Whip. We actually do not have this unlocked. It does critical damage when it hits with the tip. And the legendary gives you bonus damage on critical hits. Now, I would say this is probably good. However, it does need to crit to be special. I'm gonna take it. I know we did a lot of work with the Heavy Crossbow. I hope you enjoyed what you saw with Heavy Crossbow. Put our Ice Bow back on. But the gameplay from the Whip actually does a very good job of kind of like explaining how some of this game is gonna work. But we aren't ready to leave just yet. Even though the map is clean, there's one more thing I need to do, and we need this. This key we do not have yet, and I can tell you it is on the map somewhere. So with the power of editing, we'll find that key. I actually didn't notice this either. This is one of the costumes for the Everyone is Here update. I think it's a down slam. Yeah, Little Bones outfit. That is from Skull the Hero Slayer. Defacing that tombstone to get an outfit. Okay, so a little bit of a bonus tip. If you happen to be struggling trying to find where some of this stuff is, you can find under accessibility the option to highlight secrets. So if in the event that you absolutely like can't find these, or maybe you just don't want to look, maybe having this on speeds up your gameplay, but you have the option to highlight these. Inside is that Architect's key. And then you can go and open up the door that has been locked for you. Or you could get, you know, money and food and all that other stuff that helps out winning a run of Dead Cells. It's just another option for you. So now Architect's key is open. Inside, one of the best blueprints in the game called Merchandise Categories. Up here, it even highlights the Ram Room. We can open a door that's on the side, which is right up here. And then inside the door is yet another blueprint. This is Parting Gift, a tactics blueprint. But if you've watched any of my Kenny Cook videos, you probably have seen me use the Parting Gift quite often. So now we're back on our progression, heading into the Cavern, a brand new area, a mandatory area, if you plan to access the 5th boss cell in Dead Cells. We did not get the 60 kills. We have 232 blueprints. Merchandise categories cost 300. That's how powerful you can imagine this is. It's very, very expensive. Put in as many points as I can, and maybe we'll be able to use that in the last biome. So Valmont's Whip does bonus to electrify, bonus to burn. We'll see if we can get anything closer to like freeze or snare, which is root. Slow down. Stun, we don't really do. We'll keep it for now. I don't have that much money. And we probably have to re-roll yet again to get rid of Acrobatic Pack. So what we're going to do here, we'll still take Heart of Ice. We'll still take Necromancy. But for our last mutation, we are running melee, so maybe we will go ahead and grab Berserker. That way we have the benefit of getting the powerful grenade back, getting the Wolf Trap back with Heart of Ice, and then hitting stuff with melee attacks, which is the Valmont's Whip. So now we're heading in. This is Cavern. Mining was a thankless job on the island. Many died buried under rubble, suffocated by toxic something. This map has lava, just as a heads up. Lots of falls. None that you should really have to worry about, but you may have to worry about the lava sometimes. We already have new monsters. Demons. Failed experiment. The demon came down here to attack me. This thing's called a skeleton. I did not allow it to play the game. We'll see in just a bit. That demon went across the map to find me. I assume it saw me through the tiny hole in the wall. You can see how the crit with Valmont's Whip works. If we hit with the tip, it does a critical attack. This is called the Arbiter. The Arbiter is like the advanced version of the Inquisitor. Fires out 5 bullets instead of just the 1. However, it never like angles it towards you. It always shoots in like one primary direction. But when it dies, it also drops a bomb. Just in case you weren't paying attention. Wow, the demons today. They're just on me. Skeleton. Remember to get some kind of outplay for the bomb that drops. Trying to use our grenade whenever possible. There are traps. That's a challenge rift. Wow, in what an inconspicuous spot. Shoutouts to you if you saw that before I did. We'll do it now since it will give us a power bonus. Maybe even a good amulet. 2 and 2, but not the best stats that we want. It would give us a lot of HP. We'll go from 75 to 10,000. And all we lose is 1 survival? Shoot, maybe that's worth it. You don't have to sell the amulet, however. The amulet actually pops out of the challenge rift at the end. So never feel like you're stuck. You can always just leave the amulet and then come back later. Now, as I said, I have a lot of hours in Dead Cells. The challenge rifts aren't really a thing that I think about too hard because it's kind of muscle memory at this point. However, you notice that sometimes I jump. Sometimes I do the dodge roll. I'll even duck sometimes, where I know for a fact, oh, if I duck here, I'll be safe. That all comes from, you know, playing the game, familiarizing yourself with the different options you have, and then using those options. New monster. Some kind of warthog-looking thing. It slams the ground and rocks show up. The ground is illuminated for a big down slam. Ice armor. I wanted to showcase it's actually protected on its back, but whips such as Electric Whip, Valmont's Whip, Wrenching Whip, they all can actually go through enemy shields. Even the Thorny's back and the Ovenite shield, it will ignore that and do damage. That's why I did want to show Valmont's Whip. I think it itself is a very cool weapon. It has a lot of mechanics to it. That monster, I was pretty close range, to be honest, but it still gave me the kill with Valmont's Whip because it has such a big hitbox, the monster that is. No matter what, if I hit with the tip anywhere in the monster's hitbox, it gives you the crit. So, like, that is not the tip, but that was. Bigger monsters are easier to crit than smaller ones. The skeleton jumps and slams the ground repeatedly. A little bit similar to what Concierge is doing. But I can tell you it is something you may end up seeing from other monsters later. 4 BC door. Inside requires Garland Key. I can tell you Garland Key is on this map. So just like the Architect's Key, keep a lookout. I don't think turning on the assist mode option helps with that. New Wolf Trap, level 11. If we leveled it up, it would be stronger. So I'll go ahead and swap. I'm not necessarily assuming I will keep that for the rest of the game, but it's certainly something that we could utilize. We're almost full. I'm not healing 1% per kill. Not even 0.5%. So if you remember what doesn't kill me, that gave us 5% HP on parry. 3 parries makes up 1 croissant, which is quite strong. Double jump there for safety. So Necromancy, like, the closer you are to full HP, the worse it gets. It also depends on how much HP the monster had as you killed it. So these demons, arbiters, they don't have a lot of HP. The skeleton, failed experiment, those have a bit more. Valmont's Whip is typically a brutality tactics. Tactics because you can get like long range damage and some other stuff out of it. But it is not a ranged weapon. It does not get benefits from Acrobatic Pack. But it does get the benefit of Tranquility, which gives you bonus damage while there's no enemy close to you. Ow. It's a good hit. If I find a shield, I'll probably take it, because a shield... I've always said that you don't really need a shield to play Dead Cells, but if you learn instances where shields are great, that's a great time to be running. This is our new refresh. More wolf traps in here. Level 12. That is extremely high level. Ours is level 11. I kind of want to grab the ice grenade, to be honest. Ice grenade doesn't really do much more than wolf trap does. But in terms of like gameplay, I feel like it's easier to throw an ice grenade and then do a quick whip compared to throwing out the wolf trap, making sure they walk into it, and then whipping. I stopped right here because I saw this. That's our Garland Key. Now we can access that 4th boss cell door. All right, let's peek inside. Open with the key. We got a bunch of money, like $1,300. And another skin. Festive outfit. Festive as in, like, Christmas. I mean, it's December right now at the time of posting this video, so happy holidays to anyone who celebrates. I can also tell you that the Cavern has 3 shops in it. So getting that full clear is great, because there's a lot of stuff to see. And a lot of different ways to power yourself up. If you ever think to yourself, like, I'm not very strong, consider how many things the game is offering to you to make yourself stronger. And it's just a matter of, like, did you take it or not? That's lore. Good lore, actually. I would encourage you to read that. This is nothing. This is like weird map generation. I've never seen that before in 2,000 hours. This is actually a very oddly generated cavern. There's a lot of empty space, and the game is like generating all of the hallways around these spaces, which is something that doesn't happen very often. A lot of times you have a very compacted biome. We're getting stronger. I would love 60 kills, however. I don't know how many monsters are left. This thing has, like, pure vision of me the entire time. 26 survival. 14,000 HP. Very good numbers here. Big symmetrical lance, but I know for a fact I don't want it. We got the shield we wanted. Let's keep going. Because I do want to show you all the different kinds of things you could parry in this biome. It's very, very nice. I can tell you that this monster, you'll probably not parry a single thing it does. It's definitely not worth it. Electric Whip. Too bad we're not tactics. That monster, the skeleton, you will not parry anything that does. In fact, there's nothing you can do against what it does, the slams. Veedotme we saw before. Demons are a very good thing to parry when it does its bullets. The bullet either kills it or knocks it out of the sky. I almost never parry a demon's melee attack. The trap I was able to roll and then down slam out of. Wow, that is probably one of the worst curses in the entire game. I will do it. We do have some monsters available, but without a shield, there's so many things on this map that are like way too dangerous to deal with. And this curse makes it like even worse for you. Inside is a stronger, powerful grenade. So we do take it. That's gonna help us get our clear. Let's do these first. 4 monsters by themselves. One's an elite. I would suggest skipping this and doing something else. I do have an ice grenade, so I don't feel too bad. Depending on what the ability was, would determine if you should consider running away or not. But if it was the walls, like you're boxed in, you can't run anyway. But chances are it'll just die to your grenades. We lost some HP here. We did gain some damage. 11,000 HP is still a fantastic number. I don't know if we'll miss the HP that I had, which was quite a lot. But we have a good number anyway. I can tell you this monster, the bird, I think it's called the Slammer. You cannot parry that. Don't even try. So, in reality, the only thing we're parrying are demons and maybe failed experiment. Everything else is too dangerous to parry. Nice. As you saw, the Oven Knight could not block the whip. Cavern, funny enough, is the highest level biome in the game. If you consider the level of the biome determines what level of gear you get, we're getting level 12 items from here. And don't forget, we mentioned things like the Mimic, things like cursed biomes that pump up the level of stuff. All of that does work in the cavern. Oh yeah, there's this. I forgot all about this. Yet another secret. We're losing a little bit of HP to do it, but that's okay. I did leave food on the map. There's one there. And that's probably it. But I think it's okay. You have to use our head to open the door. We've done that before to access the cavern. Can't go any further to the right, so that means we're going up. Nice little trap section here. If you have extra jumps, it makes it a lot easier to do. But we're able to grab our War Javelin. You can kind of use your head to see where you're landing. I'm also utilizing the map. And that's it. War Javelin is actually a tactics weapon. I have used it even while tactics playing survival. I actually like it quite a bit. It doesn't really do damage though, so it's a very utilitarian weapon. We got our merchandise categories. We won't see that until the next biome. We have 134 cells left. Masochist, we were talking about earlier. You could also save your cells to go towards your forge. That is an option. So funny enough, if you remember our recycle tubes, it's still giving us the wooden equipment that we don't ever want to use again. So let's actually finish these off. Now that we have the recycling tubes, if you're doing other runs of the game, you want to get the benefit of choice here. There's also specialist showroom. I'll go ahead and put points into this. I'll show you all what that does in our next video, but we're not quite done in this one. I don't really care to upgrade frontline shield, so we're going to keep everything as is. I also have not used the health pot yet, but I hope you've realized every transition area, not a single one of them has had a health fountain. So we see that there is lava. We see there's an ice platform. Let's go in. Scary already. The giant. You here. The malaise has really had his way with you. Yes, indeed. In keeping with your arrogance, which has brought nothing but ruin to the kingdom. In spite of all my warnings. Not a shred of hope is left to us. Die! Like, what in the world is going on with this story? So, to give, like, an idea of what the boss does, this is the giant. He tries to slam with his fist. He's charging the fist, which puts a little light indicator on his shoulder pads. He can slam. He can encase you in laser beams. He can punch. The Valmont Whip is struggling to crit here, which is a little bit unfortunate. If you let his shoulder pads grow to their maximum size, maximum illumination, it's 3 stacks. He does a special effect. Let me show you how to play without doing dodge rolls for a little bit. This one's tough. If you get hit by it, I understand completely. I'm doing short hops to dodge it. Good positioning. Still no crits. If you don't have a shield, you simply double jump and then duck. Notice I got hit, even while trying to showcase it. Once he goes below half, double slam into phase 2. Phase 2 allows him to bring down crystals from the sky. They don't last forever, so it's not that big a deal. Just make sure you're avoiding combat. Jump off the platform if you have to. Sometimes that's the outplay. Just waiting on a level 3 left arm. But yeah, oftentimes I go in the center, jump off, go in the center, dodge roll. We'll chug here. All right, that's the level 3 on the left hand. This is a bullet hell. You can just duck or dodge roll. Nice, good hit. If you haven't realized, every time you destroy a hand, the shoulder pads reset. So long as you're actually destroying the hands, you oftentimes don't deal with the shoulder pad mechanic at all. Valmont's Whip, very good in here, except for the eyeball. It's all positional based. Nice. You've beaten me fairly. Not like before. Take this. It might be more of use to you. That's a boss cell. Make a wish. I jest. You most certainly are. Now, before this happens, like before the 5th boss cell, he'll actually like say more dialogue after that. I won't say what it is. We might even see that in the next video. But we now have our 5th boss cell. That's the final boss cell that we need for full progression of the game. We'll grab these. I can also tell you that the giant gives you the most scroll fragments of all bosses. So there may be a case where like you go to the giant specifically because of how strong you could get. The game also decided, I don't remember which update it was, but it gave you the option to now skip High Peak Castle and go straight to Hand of the King. The benefit of doing that is time savings. Maybe you only have 1 flask left. You don't want to use that last flask in High Peak Castle. We won't be going to any other biome. I won't be going to Distillery. So there may be a possibility where you're thinking, okay, I don't have progression to get. You could get new blueprints in High Peak Castle. There could be a challenge rift in High Peak Castle. But for the purpose of the Zero to Hero full walkthrough, I do want to show you what it looks like to skip and go straight to Hand of the King. But for our purposes, we want to see what does it look like when you skip. They give you the benefit of 2 power scrolls. High Peak Castle is guaranteed 2 power scrolls, but it does have extra scrolls. We get double survival here. So, like, could you be stronger going into High Peak? Yes. However, you're not going to be necessarily weak by skipping. We did get a blueprint that we put in, which was Giant Killer. That is right up here. It is a slash survival, so with 100 cells, you could unlock it. However, I don't have enough. I only have my 30. We'll put points towards Specialist Showroom. Everything else here is basically fine, but I will upgrade this. I will upgrade this. Money is basically worthless at this point. I could have possibly reset to get rid of Necromancy. Maybe take Instinct of the Master of Arms for more cooldown reduction. Maybe take Disengagement. That's more safety. You have a lot of options. But let's go ahead and go in. We've learned a lot so far, and we've seen a lot of new stuff in 4BC. But we are on a fast track to the 5th boss cell now. Hand of the King, he's still mad, still upset. Hand of the King can be frozen. Wow, what a hit. I could heal myself on parry if I had what doesn't kill me. So you may think to yourself, like, why would I ever use what doesn't kill me? This is an excellent situation where that could be happening. Taking a lot of damage. One thing about Hand of the King that's different than almost every other monster in the game, if you freeze Hand of the King, his attack does not get reset. His attack stays as it is. It's definitely interesting. Dodge these. There's also cooldown reduction on parry. That would have actually been quite nice in this fight. All the parry stuff against Hand of the King is pretty good. Realistically, you only ever want to parry the 3-hit combo, because that's the easiest thing to parry. Alright, so Hand of the King is dead. We get a lot of cells out of it. 27 40 cells total. We get a skin. Faithful Hand of the King outfit. We still cannot access what's after here. This says 5 boss cells. But we have it now. Once we get through the next run, we'll be able to access that door. So new content still awaits us. Hour-long duration because it took me a lot of time to find all the secrets I want to show you all. We got a new head for kill streaking, being able to like get through the entire biome without failure. So we've done quite a good job doing that. But that is the 4th boss cell of our Zero to Hero full walkthrough. If you like what you saw, leave a like on the video, subscribe to see more of this. I personally really enjoy doing this, and we have guaranteed one more video at least coming up, so long as you all want to see the full entirety of the Dead Cells Zero to Hero. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you next time.